Hey guys, welcome back to the Masculine Project. So in the last video to this introductory series on the Masculine Project, we discussed why I use the term ideal masculinity and the distinction between what it objectively means to be a man and the more subjective ideal, how that might play out in a man's life. In this video today, I want to give you the definition of ideal masculinity that has completely 180'd my life personally. I'm talking my health, my marriage, my work, my relationship with my kids, and a lot more. So let's get into it.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yeah, go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves.
All right, let's do this. But before we dive into this definition, I do want to make some quick remarks. I know this is bad YouTube form because conventional wisdom dictates that you, dear listener, you don't really have the patience to listen to this kind of introductory remarks of the kind I'm going to do. So I'm kind of trusting you here not to get flighty brained and just click away in 15 seconds. Okay, so first, roughly 75% of this ideal masculinity definition comes from Dr. Paul Maxwell. Maxwell debuted it on the podcast Doctrine and Devotion. The episode aired on September 13th, 2018. It is a brilliant episode, and I've listened to it probably like 5-6 times by now. Just an FYI, Maxwell has since renounced being a Christian, but I feel his definition of masculinity still holds. I've clarified, polished, expanded it by like 25%, a little bit more to make it more clear, complete, but the bulk of it is his, and I want to give him credit. I've also added the practical progressions in the domains of genotype, phenotype, individuality that we're going to be talking about later. All right, second. While this definition has helped me enormously in my own personal life, I am open to the possibility that it still might be incomplete or even wrong in certain areas. I know that's a super unpopular thing to say in our social media age, which, rewards stating everything in the most certain manner possible. But I'm just more interested in learning than gaining a huge amount of followers. Obviously, I think I'm right. I'm pretty sure I'm right, but I am not 100% certain. I won't fight to the death over, never adding anything to my ideal masculinity definition ever again. Eventually, I'll leak to a later video where I explain the areas where I might actually be missing something, because I've given a lot of thought to how I might be wrong, whether I'm wrong, that sort of thing. So all of that to say, if you find yourself listening to these videos and sort of shaking your head at me and saying to yourself, oh my goodness, how could he have missed this specific thing? Don't explode. Just keep watching, get to that video, then email me and explain, what you think I'm missing. I promise I'll listen, I'll think about it, maybe I'll even add to the definition. Third, if you're a Christian, don't get freaked out by the lack of quote-unquote Christian words. For example, I don't use the word sanctification in my definition, but the concept is definitely there. This is something I've learned from just being a dad of young kids. I can't use $10 words like sanctification with them just yet, so I teach them the concept. Obey, love God more and more in your life over time. By forcing me to articulate concepts rather than just, spout words, my kids have helped me immensely in my thinking. And that skill is going to translate over into these videos. Okay, so those 3 points are out of the way. Thank you for being patient. So here is what you've been waiting for. Ta-da! The real meat of this definition. And again, The definition of ideal masculinity is, quote, ideal masculinity is a man's maximization of his potential for competence in the three areas of his genotype, his phenotype, and his individuality over time towards a transcendent goal. And kind of as an aside, the interesting thing is that this is also the definition of ideal femininity. Ideal femininity is, quote, a woman's maximization of her potential for competence in the three areas of her genotype, her phenotype, and her individuality over time towards a transcendent goal. Just like a mathematical equation, right? As an analogy, just like a mathematical equation. For example, the algebraic equation of a line, what is it like? Y equals mc plus, y equals mx plus c, that's it. We can have the same equation for two different lines, but because the numbers we put into the equation are different, you get two different outputs, two different final answers. Just the same, the definitions for ideal masculinity and femininity can be the same, but because we're putting in two comparatively, right, that's an important word, comparatively different biological natures, we get two comparatively different outputs. Okay, so let me just say it again. Ideal masculinity is a man's maximization of his potential for competence in the three areas of his genotype, his phenotype, and his individuality over time towards a transcendent goal. So, like, what does that even mean? There is a lot packed into that short definition. The quick explanation, the elevator pitch, if you will, is that masculinity is a skill that you grow in and which is then pressed into the service of your highest transcendent goal. Ideal masculinity is a skill, just like carpentry, just like professional basketball, just like the art of warfare. They're all skills. And just like every other skill, it has an ideal or a theoretically perfect way to embody the given ability. There is the perfect ideal quarterback, right? For example. And that quarterback is formulated, the ideal quarterback is formulated by the givens of the job, the team expectations, and the nature of physiology. The phrase ideal masculinity should alert you to the fact, alert, that we're now in the realm of subjective ideals. That is what is wise. We're in shades of gray now. These are subjective thoughts that are built on top of the biological fact that a given human being is in possession of XY chromosomes rather than XX chromosomes. Thus, this definition is an ideal to strive for over time. Okay. The three words I want to deal with in this video, for the sake of time, are maximization, potential, and competence. The first three primary words in the definition itself. And they make sense of each other in sort of reverse order. So that's the way I'm going to explain them, in reverse. The most important word in this definition is competence. It is the word every other word and concept in this definition supports or modifies or clarifies. Ideal masculinity is about competence. And competence is, quote, the ability to overcome obstacles successfully or efficiently in pursuit of a goal, end quote. And in the context of masculinity, to do it successfully or efficiently in comparison with other men in particular. So let's take an athlete, say a basketball player. He's competent to the degree he can efficiently overcome the obstacles opposing players put in his path during the game. Things like his ability to score points and, like dunk on other players while they try to stop him, and defending against the other team trying to dunk on him in return. He's competent if he can efficiently overcome the performance obstacles instituted by the coach. Think like the skills and the body strength needed to be a pro athlete that I don't have, right? Like walking and dribbling at the same time. More complicated than you think. He's competent if he can efficiently overcome the transformative obstacles in himself, like his desire to be lazy rather than improving himself in the off season. Let's take another example, right? An academic. He's competent to the degree he can efficiently overcome the obstacles inherent in mastering his subject, right? Think how hard it is to master theoretical physics, for example. He's competent in that he can efficiently overcome the performance obstacles instituted by his peers and his publishers, right? He's got to publish peer-reviewed articles and books on a regular basis. And he's competent if he can efficiently overcome the transformative obstacles in himself, right? He has to change the way he thinks to master his subject. And if he can't do all of those efficiently to be competent, he's less competent than other men. All right, moving on to the next word, which is potential. This modifies somewhat a man's pursuit of competence. Every man has a given ceiling, a threshold, right? An innate ability in a given area of competence beyond which he cannot pass. No matter how hard I train, I will never be a swimmer like Michael Phelps. I'll never be a basketball player like Michael Jordan. I will never have the IQ of Elon Musk. My potential for competence in each of those spheres has a natural limit, and that's okay. The point isn't to rail against the fact that I'll never have the basketball talent that Michael Jordan has in his left pinky toe. It's to be guided by my limits into the areas I do have high thresholds for competence in, and to focus on my actual strengths. I don't have the physical ability to grow the muscle of an Arnold Schwarzenegger, but a guy missing both legs doesn't have my physical ability to squat either. All three of us, Arnold, myself, and the guy missing legs, are dealt a hand, and we play that hand to the best of our ability. And that brings us to the word maximization. We all have ceilings to our potential in all these different areas of competence. Our job is to play our hand the best we can. That means maximizing what's been given to us, right? Wringing out every ounce of compound interest we can to what we've been given. For example, if you're missing 2 legs and can't squat, great. Sweat a lot in the gym to get as large an upper body as you can. So I don't have the 160 IQ of Elon Musk. I still plan on reading and thinking as much as I have the potential for. I may not be able to build flamethrowers, SpaceX, Tesla, and a new road system like he does, but I can do this YouTube channel. I'm going to maximize my potential as much as I can in as many areas of competence as I can. And real fast, just notice these words: maximize, potential, competence. They all presuppose a sliding scale of masculinity rather than like a set of yes or no characteristics that a guy may or may not possess. You can more or less be further or less along in your journey towards this masculine ideal. There's always been a tension between people who want to absolutize a good characteristic and the recognition that each man is an individual and he needs to be taken as an individual who may just be beginning. For example, take working out. Most people would agree that it's good for a man to be strong and muscular. However, many would also agree that there's a host of complicating factors that might intervene on the biological, societal, and individual levels. I'll deal with all of those when I get to explaining genotype, phenotype, and individuality. And already, I can hear you asking, right? So what areas of competence are the most important for this masculine ideal then? Are there any competencies that all men or most men need to concentrate on? And that is a great question. That's dealt with in the next part of this definition on ideal masculinity, and it's the subject of our next video, so keep on listening. And if you want a detailed analysis of where you stand compared to this ideal masculinity so that you know exactly where and how to get started, go down into the description below and get the masculine checklist from my Substack. It breaks down all the masculine progressions that'll help you grow and asks you practical questions to help you figure out where you are right now, and then what you need to do to get started doing something. You also get the transcripts of all my YouTube videos and an extra article written by me for men every other week. So, click the link down in the description below. Most men just want the dopamine hit that comes from absorbing new information. Are you going to be different and take some action? If so, click the link and get after it.